All right, hi y'all. It's Mangaka here, and I wanted to chime in on some fighting game discourse that I've seen from Twitter. And it's not going to be about the matchup spread of one gorilla taking on 100 people. Instead, it's going to be about Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves, because for the past couple of days, I've seen some tweets out there kind of bashing on this game's player count, where people have looked at the Steam player counts and gone, yo, nobody's playing this game. This game is dead on arrival. Why should I even get involved with this if nobody's playing this game? I sort of wanted to take a look at this argument, sort of explain the problems with an argument like this, how it's ignoring several factors, many of those critical to a game's success, how it's looking at a very small piece of the picture when it comes to how well a game is doing with the information that we have access to. And kind of just make a point as well about popularity for a fighting game or games in general isn't all there is to the health of a community. So let's get into this, y'all. I'm Mangaka. I'm a TO out from Colorado. I also commentate fighting games from time to time. I broke my gaming laptop, so I'm at home on my desktop, wanting to make a video to cure my sadness. And I wanted to sort of chime in on this one. I know I'm not hot off the presses with this. This discourse has been going on for a little bit, but I just sort of wanted to make my own statement on this one. So forgive any sort of clickbait I used up there. I just wanted to get you to listen to me for a minute. Thanks. Anyhow, let's talk about these Steam numbers real quick, right? These Steam numbers don't capture the full entire picture. And the first thing I'm going to sort of talk about that is that overall PC is still not like the most popular system, right? Between what you get with like Xbox and PlayStation being rival systems, which you can play a game on, most people are still playing on consoles due to accessibility. And what I mean by that is consoles are still cheaper than gaming PCs. If you want to get a good gaming PC that's going to be able to play modern games better than those consoles, you're going to be, investing 2 or 3 times the amount of cost on that PC as you was to getting a console, right? So for the average person, I would say, most of them are still playing on console just due to cost alone, right? Like, PlayStation 5, Xbox, we know that those are units that have millions in circulation right now. So, and I can kind of like make a point about this too within the fighting game sphere, actually, right? So let's take a look at like some Street Fighter 6 numbers real quick, right? This is VG Insights, Video Game Insights. So this is primarily only talking about data on PC. So if you look here, they actually have the stats for when it comes to PC, 1.6 million units have been sold for Street Fighter 6. It's a lot of units for PC, right? But if we look at the broad sales figures that Capcom has reported, back on February 3rd of this year, so 2 months ago, so this number will be higher now, Capcom reported that they had sold 4.4 million units. 4.4 million units. If we scale down the math real quick, I got a calculator that y'all are not seeing right now, but if I take 4.4 and divide it by 1.6, right? It's almost 3 times that amount, right? It's 2.75 is the exact number, right? So of 4.4 million units, maybe about a third of that is on PC. So the rest of those units, they're on the other consoles that Street Fighter 6 is on. They're on PlayStation 5. I think it's also on Xbox as well. Or is it not on Xbox? It might just be PlayStation. I'm trying to remember all these numbers. Let's take a look at Street Fighter 6 real quick. I genuinely can't remember if it's on Xbox or not. Nope, it's just on... No, it is. Okay, it's on the Xbox as well. So excuse me. Pardon me there. So, when it comes to like a juggernaut like Street Fighter 6, a third of the player base is on Steam. So looking at like just Steam alone, right? If we were to look at Street Fighter 6's numbers here, right? And we keep those sales numbers in mind too. We can see that all-time peak was 70,000 players. There's been about 30,000 player peak right now, right? 70,000 out of like the 1.6 million that have actually bought the game, which is bigger sales numbers, right? That's not telling the full story right here, right? And that's something else to sort of like think about as well, where, okay, well, how many people bought the game? How many people have tried out the game? Because one thing that I need to point out about these numbers is that this isn't counting unique players. It's counting total players in the last X amount of time. So, we got this 30,000 peak, right? Let's say 100 people got offline at the same time. But then 200 people got online at the same time. 200 new players got online at the same time that 100 players got offline. These numbers would only reflect a difference of 100 players coming online because it's going to look at the total peak, right? And that first 100 players is going to refill the players that left, and then we count the next 100 players that come on in there, right? When, really there was 200 more people playing than a number like that might suggest, we're only going to notice 100 of that because of how this number is tracked. So we have to keep in mind that these are not unique players overall. This is just total concurrent players that have come on in. To sort of scale this down to Fatal Fury, right? So if we look at Fatal Fury's numbers, you'll see that, okay, all-time peak, like not even 5,000 total players have been online at the same time for PC. Well, first off, this is just PC, which is like maybe a third, of the market for this game. So we don't have PlayStation numbers. We don't have Xbox numbers, right? We don't know how many players are actually on those games right now. The more popular of those systems, right? Or the more common, I should say, of like gaming systems overall. And secondly, we don't know how many unique players there are as well, right? Because you look and you go, okay, well, only 2,000 people are playing right now. Let's take a look at the sales numbers right here. If you look at owner estimations, VG Insights estimates about 22,000 players. Their actual site here will show that as much as about 24,000 right here. Some other sites estimate about 50K and 60K. We won't really have a good set of the numbers until SNK reports how many units they've moved overall, right? But now, when you think about it, if we just base this off of Video Game Insights numbers, 24,000 units, that's like 5 times the current concurrent player base that's been online, logged on the line at the same time, right? So we're only seeing a fifth of this player base being counted because we're not counting unique players. We're counting total number online at the same time. Very disingenuous. You see how much smaller this number is getting when it comes to telling this full story of it. Now, granted, when you're matchmaking and you're just trying to get games, this is like the pool that you're trying to draw from when it comes to games, right? So that is sort of where this number becomes relevant. But for determining like how many people are actually playing this game total, it's not the full story. It is not the full story. And I think a problem with FGC discourse is that we've gotten used to comparing things to like the juggernauts out there, right? To like the big selling fighting games, right? Guilty Gear Strive, 31,000 peak. It's sold, a couple million units now. We look at Mortal Kombat, right? Mortal Kombat 1 recently. If it will pop up, give me Mortal. There it is. Just had to look a little lower, right? Almost 40,000 player peak, right? Couple thousand online right now. But, again, millions of units being sold. And this is just for PC, right? We're not seeing PlayStation numbers, which are going to dwarf this. Let's take a look at, Tekken 8, just for one more big example, right? 50,000, almost 50,000 people online at the same time. But, again, over 1 million sold in terms of units and, pretty decent player peaks right now. I feel like these numbers might be lower than before because of Season 2, but that's just, how it is, right? We had a big spike right here. I think this is around the release of Season 2, and then, player base is going back down, but really it's comparable to what it was before, so same number of people playing Tekken at the moment. But now let's look at some other fighting games, right? Let's look at like Under Night. I did it again, Under Night 2. Under Night 2, right? Sister Less. On PC. 7,000 player peak. Couple hundred online at the same time. Again, this isn't total unique players playing. This is just the number of people online at the same time. But decent units sold, right? Some of these estimate like over 6 figures in sales. Look at Grand Blue versus Rising, right? You're going to see a very similar peak, 7,000. Nobody was calling this a dead game. We were just happy it was out, right? Couple hundred playing right now. Less than Fatal Fury, but we're calling Fatal Fury the player base with 3 times this player count the dead game. Okay. Still really good units sold right down here. Let's take a look at another SNK title, right? The King of Fighters, 15. Right? This came out a few years ago. Very similar numbers. It's not quite double, but, it's still under that 10K mark. A couple hundred people playing online right now. Everyone's trying out Fatal Fury, so maybe these numbers are a little lower than usual, but, it's also just new game, try it out. But really good sales units, all these above 6 figures, right? So Is Fatal Fury really doing that bad when, it's doing comparable to the King of Fighters 15? That's been, a strong game for a hot minute. Is it really doing so bad compared to like Uni 2 or the Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising, right? Like games that have been out for a couple of years? Is it really doing so bad? Is it? Or is it, does it just seem bad because it's not Street Fighter numbers, it's not Tekken 8 numbers, right? And that's a fair comparison to make, right? Like if we take a look at my local scene, we ran a week 1 tournament for Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves. 40 people attended, right? We had like a couple hundred extra in the prize pool for it, right? And 40 people showed up. Some of us were expecting about 100. Clear to say we fell short of that mark, right? Whereas, Tekken 8 had 123 players. Our Street Fighter 6 week 1 tournament had 162 players. So why is Fatal Fury not that big? Well, I think some of it is just, recognition, brand recognition, that is. I think some of that is just overall interest, potentially. And I think some of that is just like a location stuff, right? Like if I look at Colorado specifically, Street Fighter 6 is a numbered sequel to a franchise that has been one of the biggest franchises in FGC for decades at this point now. So yeah, of course, like the new game for it is going to get a lot of attention. Of course it is. Of course it is. Plus, out here in Colorado, we really stopped running Street Fighter 5 tournaments. Nobody was running them. And so people are like, oh, finally, there's a Street Fighter tournament happening in my Colorado scene. I want to go out to that, right? So there was that sort of interest to it, right? The fact that you had an existing player base ready to play a new game does a lot. Same thing for Tekken 8, right? People were, kind of like done with Tekken 7. They wanted to play the new Tekken game, right? So, of course, a bunch of people came out from this established community that's had many active events in Colorado, right? Whereas Fatal Fury is a game that, we haven't had a version of it in 26 years. And while SNK is a recognized developer, I would say, in the FGC scene, I don't think it's that mainstream name, right? Because you ask somebody who doesn't play fighting games, oh, what fighting games do you know? They probably maybe mention Mortal Kombat as the first one off the top of their heads. They might know Street Fighter 6. Maybe they grew up playing Soul Calibur, right? They might throw out like a Naruto game or a Dragon Ball game, one of those arena fighter games, right? Thinking that's a fighting game, but that's not what we mean when we say it. Regardless, right? Within the fighting game sphere, these games have sort of come up and gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, as it were. And the fighting game community is in a healthy spot right now where a game can drop, you can maintain an active player base, you can sell a lot of units, make some good money, right? Just because, you look at from Fatal Fury alone, right? Made over $1 million already. I'd say that's pretty good. I don't know what SNK's budget was. I don't know what these numbers need to be, but just from PC, $1 million, and there's probably a couple other millions coming out too from their console releases, especially when it comes to how many tournament organizers have to buy this game just to host events. I think they're probably doing pretty fine. I don't think they're really worried about the player base numbers, right? They just put up a couple $1 million prize pool for their tournament scene stuff. Now, there might be some reasons that people aren't interested in Fatal Fury. They're just not interested in the characters that are involved. Maybe they're not interested in like the system mechanics that are there. Maybe there's other reasons for it too, right? Like there are some controversies around SNK as a company, as well as a character that was included in Fatal Fury. And I won't comment on that right now just because I don't need to go into all of that. But some people might just say, no, I don't want to support that game for whatever reason it is, whether it's just it doesn't interest me or I have political reasons for it, right? Like, that's fine. Clearly, though, people want to play it. People want to try out. People want to buy it. People want to play this game. And I think it's very disingenuous just to look at this one small subset of a statistic and say, like, this is the only thing that matters, or this is the greatest indicator of how well a game is doing, and calling a brand new game dead just because it's not breaking into like the exceptions to the rules and their numbers, right? It's not as big as a flagship game when it never set out to be a flagship game, I would say, in terms of its popularity. I think that's kind of disingenuous, just given all the circumstances and things going around. And one more point I'd like to make too: numbers isn't everything. Remember this game, Multiverses, a game that's like shut down now, a game that doesn't have any servers online anymore, if I have heard correctly, right? That made history for the fighting games by being the most played fighting game online ever. 2 years later, because of mismanagement with its game design, with its netcode stuff, with its relationship with the community and other things, the game does not have active service, and this game is not run on events anymore for it. Not to remark on anything as the quality of the game itself. But these numbers, right? Granted, this is a free-to-play game, so you download the game, you consider it an owner. Numbers don't mean squat. You could have the biggest release ever and fade out and be shut down in a few years if you're mismanaged. You know, does it really matter how many people are playing Fatal Fury right now if it doesn't matter how many people played Multiverses right now? And maybe that's a bit of a odd stray drive-by shot to sort of fire, but it's something I kind of want to make a point on, right? Where the more important thing when it comes to the health of a game is not like what was the peak player base. It's, all right, what are the developers doing with it, and what is the community doing with it right now, right? Some reasons to play Fatal Fury. There's a big tour for it. There's going to be people who want to play this game, want to share this experience, and have fun with it, and that's what matters at first. And so long as the vibes are good, that's what's going to carry the game in the long run. And, you know, I think Fatal Fury, people are going to be playing it for a couple of years. It's not going to be as big as Street Fighter 6. It's not going to be big as Tekken 8. It also doesn't have to be that big in order to be a successful and fun fighting game to play. So let's cut that idea out of our heads, please. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. If anyone out there knows resources to like looking up some PlayStation and Xbox numbers and stuff like that, please share it down below in the comments section. I think that would be really awesome to try and piece together the full entire picture of stuff like this. And are you playing Fatal Fury? Are you happy with how the game is? Let us know down below as well, because honestly, if you're having fun with the game, that's the most important part. So go out there and play, y'all. I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for watching.